So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the polling. Now you're wondering, well, I'm wearing a Detroit Tiger hat, and I got two reasons for doing that. One, I've seen some thumbnails of videos that Nate Silver does, and he seems to always be wearing, he always seems to be wearing a Tiger hat. And I said, well, I got a Tiger hat, but and that's one, but so I'm doing that in honor of Nate Silver. And we'll be talking about Mr. Silver and his brilliant prognostications. And secondly, I'm a native of Detroit. I was born in Detroit. My mom and dad, they were from Detroit too. So I'm gonna wear my Detroit Tiger hat. So with that, I'm gonna talk about the polling. Now, everybody is saying the polling was a disaster. And the consensus, I talked about the consensus. I said what I did was I looked at the polling, and I was able to statistically tease out that there were three different sets of polling, especially the national polling. There were three different sets of polling. There was kind of like a centrist set. There was polls that were trending towards the Democrats from that central point, and then polls that were trending towards the Republicans. So I said to myself, I think the Republicans are too far towards Trump. You got to be suspicious about that. But these other ones that are supposed to be, not biased or anything, and I looked at that and I said, I don't know if they're biased, but certainly they're out there, and I didn't believe them. I just simply didn't. I made video about that. I'm going to link. I've got a link to that video which I said something's wrong with the polling. I said something's wrong with the polls. So I identified that. Now I also want you to know, I started this whole analysis. I didn't get started this until like a week before the election, maybe 8 days out. And I did a little bit of analysis, made my first video, and then I was developing my model, and by my third video was where I realized that there was a problem, that there was a real problem with the modeling, that it was a disconnect. The national modeling was disconnected from the state polling, at least the national modeling, that made sense to me. And so I thought that this election was far closer. I said 4.2 points on that's what I said on election day. I said it was 4.22 points. We're probably about 2.7 or something like that now. I think it's going to get up maybe 3.5. And I was saying it was in the mid threes for a while, so that's going to end up being pretty close. But it wasn't that far. It's going to probably be less. I'll probably be within a point when it's all said and done in terms of that. Now I've been watching videos and reading about how the pollsters, but more importantly, the aggregators such as 538, how did they get it so wrong? Well, let me tell you, I used the same polls. I used the polls to come up with this analysis. So, well, let me tell you, in fact, I compared. So what I did was I compared my results with those of 538. And this is where we're at now. When these numbers get a little bit clear, when the dust really settles, I'll make another video on this to really nail it down. But I just want to give you some preliminary numbers on this. And of the 14 states, that the battleground states, because those are the ones that mattered really, the 14 battleground states, I said that I gave my call. The average that I was off from the average, that the actual value, at least is right now, was off from my forecast was 2.55 points. Okay, not bad. It's okay. It's okay. But the 538, their average was off 4.64, more than 2 points higher. And I mean, that my worst state so far is 4.6. I was off by 4.6 in one state. They were more than 4.6 in 4, 5, 6, 7 states. 7 out of 14. They were off by more than my worst state in 7 out of 14 states. That 538 was more off than me. But now, as I say, I used the same polls. So how was it that these supposedly smart, experienced people that had the same information that I had, and I was able to take that? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you that this is what groupthink does to people. And these people, they're conformists. People like that 538, these people that came up with this kind of analysis, they didn't want to take any chance. They didn't want to identify. They didn't want to be any outlier. They were all herding, safe. They were safe. What they should have been saying was that these consensus polls looked like garbage. But nobody wants to say that. Why would you say that the consensus polls are garbage? Because that's what they wanted. Their audience, they all wanted to hear it. Their Democratic audience, they wanted to hear it. That's what they thought that reality was. Reality was supposed to be that Biden was supposed to blow this election out. Well, I didn't think it at all anyway. And then as I delved into the numbers and looked at the polling and saw that there really were polls that seemed to be getting it more. And I'm not even talking about the Republican polls, but they were more off. They were more towards Trump. But the reality is the Republican polls, they were much more accurate. In fact, I saw a video where Nate Silver was jumping all over the Trafalgar guy, the head of Trafalgar polling, like trying to talk like he didn't know what he was doing. Nate Silver looks like an idiot now. That Trafalgar people were pretty close, all things considered. They were much more in touch with reality, and it's clear that these people did not want to see. They didn't want to see what was going on. That's the reality. Now, Nate Silver was saying also, oh, well, mate, it's close. He thought it was closer. Well, why didn't you give the numbers? Because he said, oh, Pennsylvania is closer. Well, let me tell you, Pennsylvania, they had Pennsylvania at, let me see this number here. They had Pennsylvania at 4.7. 4.7. I had it at 1.5. I had Pennsylvania up, that Biden would win Pennsylvania by 1.5 points, 4.7 points. They had Michigan by 8 points. 8 points. They had Ohio as basically a toss-up, 0.6. Because I was saying that the consensus polls were talking about Ohio as if it was a toss-up. Like, what? Come on. So I could go on and on. It's really on and on. These people, they were off. And as I say, how could a guy like me, 1 week before the election, I start putting data set together, put all the data, build a model, do a little bit of do this and that, build a model, and way outperform. And come up with an analysis, an approach, and a forecast that way outperform. In other words, you shouldn't pay attention to these people. You shouldn't pay attention. Not only did they miss they missed this, they missed it at all up and down the state level. They missed a lot of the Senate polls. It's like they missed. They missed. It's almost like now here's an interesting thing though, and I want to bring this up because I was watching earlier today. I was watching a video with the Rising with Crystal and Sagar, and they had a couple of polling type guys or political operative types, so they're asking them about the polling, right? And so the one guy was saying, what was he saying exactly? He was saying about right. So they were saying, well, the internal polling, they were saying the Biden internal polling had the race a lot closer. And I heard that and I thought, that's really interesting. The Biden polling had it. In fact, maybe I should make that like right up on top as a big point. The Biden point and these and neither Crystal or Sagar picked up on this, because I watched that and I said, wait a minute, huh? You mean what did they do? What does the Biden campaign? They get all the smart people in the polling organizations, and then the polling organizations hire idiots? Is that what happens? I mean, that's an obvious question. That should be a very obvious question. Because wait a minute, if the internal polling had it as a much closer, because it kind of did. Remember what I told you? I said that why was Biden going to Wisconsin and Michigan? I said, it's a lot closer. It's a lot closer. But did Nate Silver say that it was a lot closer? Let's look at the numbers here. He said he had Michigan at 8 points. He had Wisconsin at 8.3. Give me a break. I mean, give me a break. You know, these people knew something. They knew that something was a lot closer. Somebody knew. And I'm not saying that there's any conspiracy theory. It's that somehow that, you know, I don't know if they were misleading people deliberately, or are they that stupid? Were they that stupid? Was the pollers that stupid? What's going on here? I mean, I think there's some legitimate questions that need to be asked. And people are kind of hemming and, it's just, this is the way polling works. You know, the biggest polling is the day of the poll. You know, there's errors. Come on, it was so biased. It was so biased. It's so embarrassing. And as I say, some guy like me who started 1 week before the election, I take the polls, put it together, and I can use my experience analyzing data. I could use my experience and come up with numbers that were pretty close to reality, and far better than these clowns that were getting up in the morning every day and night and working morning to night for months, if not years, to prepare for this day. Well, that should tell you something. And it tells me something's wrong. Something, as I said, something's wrong with the polls. Well, these polls, something, as I said, when that guy said, oh, well, Biden's internal polls, they had a lot closer. Oh, like what do they say? You mean they hired smart, the Biden campaign hired smart people that could actually poll reality, and all the people that work for the polling organizations are idiots? I mean, seriously? So anyway, yeah. So I looked over that video. It was supposed to be just a take, and I was going to do just the real thing. But I looked at it, I liked it so much that I'm just going to keep it and let you know that thanks for watching. My next video, I'm going to talk about, or maybe even rant about, the mail-in balloting. And what a disaster this is to have an election based on mail-in balloting. So I'm going to talk about that next time. There's going to be a lot to talk about with this election. This is going to be lots to talk about. So at any rate, and we're still waiting. Maybe the next 24 hours we'll finally know. So there it is. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.